Hey everybody, Mindy at Quilting Mayhem. Welcome to the Kona block of the month. We are at month 2, so we are on to the Citrine block with these lovely oranges and yellows. This is so much fun. So we're doing half square triangles, flying geese again, and then these little 4-patch units. Things to note, so the fabric they're pulling, they made like these 4 patches this from the same 2 squares and these from the same 2 squares. And I left mine scrappy. So if you're reading the back, of the 16 for the flying geese, for the flying geese, I just used some of those. So I cut all those charms in half like it says. So you get a 2.5 by 5.5. And I set the first stack of those rectangles aside. And then you trim those down to 2.5 by 4.5. So make sure you pay attention to that piece, because I missed it at the beginning. See, I make all the mistakes so I can teach you what not to do. You're welcome. I have never claimed to be perfect. Okay, so you're going to set those aside. So then you'll have 16 more of the 2.5 by 5.5. You can cross cut those into 2.5-inch squares and use 8 of them for the corners. That's what I did because I wanted it scrappier. I don't like when they're making these corners match. I don't get it. So that's what I did. You can follow instructions. You do what makes you happy. Pick your fabrics as you want them. It does not have to match this. You don't have to sit there and try to color match. Make it the way your heart is happy. You want more yellow? Focus more on yellow, because you have almost all the colors have at least like 2. So you can do it as structured really as you want, or as scrappy as you want. So have fun with it. Remember the leftovers, set those aside. Those will be for that checkerboard border at the end, or whatever you want to do. Make another quilt, make a different quilt, whatever fun you feel like doing. But set those aside so that you have them to make that choice at the end of what you'd like to do with your quilt, or if you make an oops in between. So don't get rid of them, all right? Don't get all crazy and donate. So the other thing to note is the half square triangles, again, are not your traditional where you're going to draw a line and sew on either side of it. We're doing what I was calling the waist method in month 1. We are doing that again. So don't go skipping past that part of the instructions, because I know they did this technique, I think it was last year, and I did have a couple people that got tripped up on that where it didn't measure correctly. So I'm going to go start and show you that one first. And once again, I'm going to show both techniques. So if you skipped month 1 or you're just in here for fun, welcome. But I'm going to show both traditional with just marking. So you do your line down the middle of the lighter fabric just because it's easier. I just did a chalk pencil, and you're going to sew on that line. Okay. Then the other method I'll show you with the folded corner clipper. I'm starting to really love this thing. But you don't have to buy it. If you don't have it, you can still make this block. Just do, because you're going to have 4 charms like this. This is the 5-inch charm. Draw that diagonal line. We're going to sew on that line. So I'm going to go do that. I'll trim it and I'll show you what it's supposed to look like. All right. So once again, seam on the line, because generally what you do is you have that line and you sew a 1/4 inch on either side and you cut on the line, and then you get 2 half square triangles, right? Well, that's what we're not doing this time. All right, so what'll happen is you'll just take your ruler. This is my 4.5 by 8.5 creative grid. This is why I love this, partly because hopefully you can see if I can get my camera to behave today. There's this 1/4 inch marking right here, and it's got their grippy on it. This side has a 1/2 inch, but this has that 1/4 inch, and it's got grippy texture everywhere. So you can line it up on the line that you just stitched. Trim that off, press, and you have half square triangles. Okay, so you're going to do that for 4 of these. See, they look like that. Now, keep in mind, you can either press to the dark side. If you have a dark background, press to the dark background. If you have a light background, press to the color. Or like me, I press open. It just makes it nice and flat, and then I don't have to worry about which way my seam is going. So you're going to do 4 of these. The other method is using, let's get stuff out of the way, and I did keep these and sew these ones. Somebody will have some fun scraps when I'm done, because I feel like this waist is enough to hang on to. Some of the smaller stuff, not so much. All right, tried to hide this ruler from myself. So what's going to happen is we have 5.5 color, 5.5 background, lay them on top of each other, take our ruler, or I'm sorry, 4.5, because they made us trim it to 4.5. My bad, sorry. 4.5 background and color, lay the ruler on here, and it has already that seam allowance. So the diagonal is going from point to point of the square, and then it's got that seam allowance already cut. Take it to the sewing machine, sew your 1/4 inch or your scant 1/4 inch, press, and get your half square triangles. So these are going to be your center unit. We'll come back to these to show you how to put them together, but this is how you're making these half square triangles. All right. And just another thing to note before we move on, make sure you're double checking that these are they should be 4.5 square. Okay. This is also why I have the 4.5 creative grid always here at my sewing station. These are the sizes I always seem to work in. So this is why I like them. But just make sure. If anything's just a little off, just mark it with a pin. We can deal with that. If it's largely off because maybe you sewed 1/4 inch on either side, you're going to have to start over. All right, so let's move on to the next step, which is flying geese. All right, flying geese. So once again, we'll talk you through both ways, with the ruler, without the ruler, okay? I'm loving that ruler. It makes life easier because it's shortcutting that you don't have to draw the line before you trim. So it's saving you that step. But once again, not everybody has one, and it's just fine to do it this way. So you're going to have your rectangles that are 2.5 by 4.5. Make sure you're measuring and trimming, because it does seem like these charms are actually a little bit bigger than 5 inch. I did discover this time around. So just make sure you're checking. Otherwise your block's going to be a little bit bigger than you want it, and that's not fun. Okay. Flying geese. So background on top of color with your diagonal from the center out to a corner. It doesn't matter which way you're going, okay? What will happen is you will, sew on that line, all right? So it'll look like that, okay? On the line, not a 1/4 inch away. And then trim your 1/4 inch. So it looks like that. So it's kind of like that half square triangle we just did. Press it open, all right? Then what will happen is you will put the other one on there, sew on that line, make sure everything's lined up, okay? And once again, center to outer corner, stitch on that line, trim, and press. So let me show it to you real quick. All right, so sew on the line, right? Trim it. Press it. Okay, so once again, 1/4 inch, press it open, and you should have a 1/4 inch from the tip to the top. Okay, so that's what your geese are going to look like. You're going to make 16 of them, right? So that is that method. I did not keep all these tiny little triangles, but if you're that person, go for it. If you do what they call leaders and enders, where you use it between your chain piecing, these would be great, but I'm not that person. So into the bin they go. Let me move the camera around again, hopefully not making you too nauseous, and show you the other method using the ruler to make this half square triangle. Okay, or half square triangle. Flying geese. Geese. We're doing geese. So hold on. All right, so I do have a line on here just so you have it for reference. It is not needed. If you were doing it regularly, you would just have your fabric like this. Don't bother with lines. The whole point of this ruler is to not have to do the lines. So, but make sure you're placing it center outward, because you just want it to be happy. And then, because these are 2.5 inch squares and rectangles we're working with, we're going to use the 2.5 inch marking on this ruler, and we're following this L. Okay, this is that excess we're going to cut off. So trim, and then that way, see, you have your seam allowance. So this is the visual I'm giving you so you can see your seam allowance. We're going to sew it, press it, and then do the other side. All right, so now we'll do the other side without the marking, so you can see how it will work without it. Now I am going to pivot because it's going to make it easier so I can make sure my angle is going the correct way. All right, so make it work for you. Line your square up. Line up that 2.5. So as long as one line is going through the middle and the other is going through that diagonal that you need from the center outward, you are good. Trim off that excess you don't need, take it to the machine, stitch it, press it, and then it will be a happy little flying geese. I don't know why I keep trying to call it half square triangles. Flying geese, that's what we're making. So 16 of these guys, a whole bunch of them, okay? Then what's going to happen is we are going to make them in a section of 4. So we're making, I'll move that camera for you guys, this unit, all right? So to do that, you lay out 4 of your geese in whatever order you want. Let's mix this up. Let's do it like that. Okay, so you just lay them out how you want and then place together. Make sure your beginning and end meet. If you're new, you may want to pin it. And the other key is make sure that this lines up. So I would say what I had more success with is if I sewed it with this piece on top, but make sure you're laying them together correctly because you want to make sure your geese go all in a row, right? So lay them together, but flip it and then match. Match your beginning, match your end, make sure this lines up because if this shifts like too far forward, you're going to chop off the top of that. So you want to make sure this lines up as best as possible. If you're worried, especially if you're new, you can pin the heck out of it if you like. So pin, 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 pin. These are just those magic pins that I like because they will not melt if they're accidentally bumped by an iron. But yeah, so if this worries you, what I'm doing, kind of giving it just a little tug so it'll behave, and then kind of just using my fingers like, okay, line up, behave, and then pin it. If that's what's going to make you feel better, especially if you are struggling. If you're struggling and the points just seem to always be getting sucked in, do this. Pin it, and make sure that you potentially are doing that scant 1/4 inch. So if you're using 1/4 inch foot, go just to the inside of it, go closer to the needle with your fabric so that you don't have to worry about losing that point. All right, so you're going to do that for the 2 units. So then it will look like these. As you can see, my points are not perfect, and I'm okay. Sometimes you just let it go, because I'm just making a sample. I'm not worried. I don't really care what it looks like, because in the end, from 10 feet away or hanging up in the shop, nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna know. So do the 2 sets, and then take it and do this last seam. But this is what I learned while I was making this sample for you, was my points were being a little fussy. And when I started flipping it over and sewing on this side first so I could see what I was doing with those points, I had more success. I didn't necessarily do this much pinning, but I at least kept an eye on where my needle was landing. So as long as your needle is landing like at the point or a little bit that way, you will not lose that top of your flying geese. But so then once it's sewed together and pressed, look like that. So make 4 of these. All right. Then we're going to do the 4 patches. So there's the corner 4 patches. So 2 background, 2 color. Okay. This is your very basic, like beginner quilter 101, 4 patches. I swear this is what we make every beginner learn. So these 2 together, these 2 together. All right. So that'll get you units that look like this. All right. Once again, if you're pressing one direction, press to the darkest side. So if you have a dark background like me, press to the dark side so that when you put these seams together and match and pin, they will nest right up. They will just kind of hug each other, which is really nice. Or press flat like I do, and then you don't have to worry about it. But you're just gonna lay on top of each other and pin, because you want that join right here in the middle to meet. I'll just pin it. Now, we're going to learn another lesson today. All the lessons. If you have a piece of fabric that isn't quite fitting, see this? See? This was my happy accident. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to somehow trim this square a little too much. But I did. And it's like a 1/16. And that's okay. So when this occurs, that's why I said if some of your stuff doesn't work, put a pin in it. You can come back, figure it out. This is how you do it. So what I'm doing is this piece fits. I have the seams matched up. I have this lined up and the bottom fits. The shortage is here on the top. Okay. As long as I have all of this trued up and matching, when I do my 1/4 inch seam, there's still enough fabric here that it's going to catch it. And it's not too much. Like if it was closer to a 1/4 inch that it was off, I would say pull this block out, make a new one, start over. But because it's such a slight difference, it's okay. There will be enough fabric in that seam that you don't have to worry about it coming apart. Because once you quilt it and all that, it's really going to secure everything together. Okay. But like I said, so if this is more 1/4 inch, like if you are barely catching threads when you do your seam, that's when you will risk that it'll pop apart in your quilt. But slight like this, you can line it up like this, do your 1/4 inch, and it's just going to make the adjustment. Do not try to push this up and make it match, because look what happens. This is how blocks get wonky. If you try to go, oh, well, I have to make this match. And so then that gets wonky and you end up with that dip. And what happens with that dip when you line up the next piece, that dip, it keeps going and it keeps going and it keeps going. So no, this is how you fix it so that you do not have that wavy situation. See, I always talk with my hands no matter what. Okay, so 1/4 inch seam, it's going to fix this problem. This square will still be square when we're done. And it will look pretty like this. So 4 sets of these. These are your corner units. And then you have the center piece. So you had your half square triangles. So you're going to grab your 4 half square triangles and we're going to put them so the triangles are in the middle, however you like, however you want your colors. And then you're going to just sew them just like you did that 4 patch. These 2 together, those 2 together, match your seams. Everything's happy, and that's your center unit. All right, so let's get all our pieces and parts made and get this block together. All right, so just to show you, it'll look like that. Flip it over, pin it. Just make sure your beginning and ends are together. Whether you need to pin them or not, just make sure this starts, this ends. A lot of times I'll just pin maybe the end, because I know when I take it to the machine, I'm already making sure that the start is matched up. So a lot of times this is what I'll do, and just start here, work my way down. And there is the center. Look how pretty that is. Okay, so center done. We'll start putting the blocks together, but I wanted to show you. So remember this little guy? We had her a little bit off. So this is what I wanted you to see. There's the 1/4 inch seam allowance. So see how much fabric is in that seam allowance still. This is why it's okay. It is okay that there's just that little bit off, because there's still plenty here to secure that block and make sure that it doesn't come apart in the quilt. All right, so we'll just press that and make it be happy and ready to go into the block. So I'll get all those pieces and let's lay it out. All right, so here we are. We have our center, we have our geese, we have our cornerstones. So making sure the color is going kind of inward. So Don't flip them. I mean, the world won't come to an end if you accidentally do, but the pattern design is you want the colors to be in these corners. What will then happen is these guys, you're gonna, so pin that seam 1/4 inch here, pin that seam 1/4 inch there, do those, and then cornerstones are going on each of these guys. Try not to be in your way. Okay. Same for the bottom, cornerstone, cornerstone, and then row will go to this, row will go to that. So I'll show you step by step. All right, we are almost there. All right, so we have row, row, row. Flip one of them over and just match wherever seams meet. So thankfully with these half square triangles that are bigger, there aren't as many seams, but you do want to find the ones that should match up. I would even do the beginning and end, or at least the end, just to make sure. Just keep everything straight. And match, and pin, and match. So we're going to do the top, press it, and then do the bottom, and the block will be ready. And I'll be right back and show you what it looks like. All right, and there we have it, the citrine block. So pretty, I love it. So making sure those geese are going around in a circle. And the 4 patches, yep, we got them all going inward like they're supposed to. I'm really loving with this navy background. So hopefully everything went well for you. Reminders with those geese, if they're giving you grief, especially on those points, make sure you're doing those scant 1/4 inch seams. So once again, just going to the inside of your 1/4 inch foot, making sure you have a 1/4 inch foot for your machine so that you're not cutting those points off as I showed you on some of mine. It does happen. But if you're struggling with it, reach out to me, okay? Here for you. I can help you make it so it doesn't happen. I know that sometimes there is that struggle. So you can email me, info@Quilting Mayhem, contact me at the store. If you're local, come see me at the store. We can video chat, all that kind of stuff, contact through socials, all of that. But otherwise, hopefully it's working well for you, no matter which method you use, whether you're just doing, drawing lines and all that, or using the rulers, whatever's working. Hopefully it's going well. Otherwise, let me know. It's only month 2. We want to make sure things go well. And learning these techniques now early on, because you're just going to keep repeating them throughout a lot of the months, is good. So let's get it handled right now, right at the beginning, so that you're a master of them by the time we're through all 12 months of all these blocks. So hope you're enjoying it. And have a lovely day. We'll see you next month. Make sure you're sharing, posting on socials, tagging us, Quilting Mayhem, Embrace the Mayhem, Mayhem Maker, all those kinds of things. Join our Mayhem Maker Facebook group if you like doing Facebook groups, so you can show all your progress. We love when you share with the community and just keep everything growing. So have a lovely day. Keep on stitching.